My organization, the Canadian Community Economic Development Network, is a national association of about 350, mostly community organizations, some individuals from every province and territory across Canada, that are taking integrated approaches to social and economic development. The network was created 12 years ago to help these people learn from each other's successes and failures and overcome the practical problems they face doing CED. CED means Community Economic Development. In terms of our activities, we also seek to influence policy to create a more favorable environment for our members' work and to stay abreast of emerging ideas so that our members are aware of new trends and opportunities as they go by. CED takes a territorial emphasis, a specific geographic community, and the social economy has an enterprise focus, developing and strengthening businesses, but they're ideally two complementary ways of understanding an entrepreneurial movement with social goals. Let's start with community economic development. The first points here describe it as action by people locally, grassroots, to create economic opportunities, usually defined by clear boundaries. But our members also tend to focus on poverty reduction through sustainable and inclusive strategies. In our case, we tend to give a bit more attention to social outcomes and the importance of community engagement. The best solutions to complex problems facing communities like poverty, homelessness, crime, the solutions that work best tend to come from the communities themselves. They can't effectively be dealt with in silos that government tends to create. In communities where a major employer closed down, or there were a lack of market opportunities, or traditional economic development strategies were either not working or not feasible because of the challenges facing a community, the approach that did seem to work was when community members organized to take matters into their own hands. So CED emerged as a complement, a kind of value added to traditional economic development with an extremely wide range of innovative models and creative practices. You can see just by the titles of the programs how some of the social goals are emphasized, aiming for meaningful employment, focusing on neighborhoods in need of revitalization, and creating innovative social finance. So in a fully integrated model of CED, economic functions are coordinated with the social functions to address all the priority needs of a community. Let's look at the other side of the coin. While community economic development focuses on a specific geographic community, the unit of focus for the social economy is the firm, a business. Those are enterprises that serve members of the community instead of prioritizing profit. They're independent of government. They're democratic. They prioritize people and work over capital in the distribution of resources. And they're based on principles of participation and empowerment. And in Quebec, there's over 6,000 collective enterprises, representing about 8% of the gross domestic product, and this is growing. So we're talking about a significant part of the economy. Most people are probably familiar with the notions of the private and public sector. The social economy is another way of thinking about the third sector, or civil society, in relation to those other sectors. We could break it down into something like this: traditional charitable model on one side, and on the right-hand side, a pure commercial enterprise. In between the two, probably the two largest categories in Canada here are the enterprising nonprofits and co-ops, but the others are growing. So we'll skip to the next part of our presentation and see what those approaches actually do in practice. The first model, a community development corporation, brings together under one roof the range of economic and social functions. These tend to be bigger, well-established organizations that combine funding from a range of sources and offer a diverse array of programs and services for a particular geographic region. The next model is the Community Economic Development Corporation. The title on this slide is in French because they are only found in Quebec. They connect local residents with federal and provincial employment and business development programs and opportunities, as well as carrying out community planning and animation role. Incorporated as non-profit, non-governmental organizations with board members coming from the private sector, the community sector, labor, and municipalities. Probably the biggest and most successful CED program in Canada is the Community Futures Development Corporations because it's been around for 25 years. They carry out business development and counseling, financing, and training specifically in rural areas funded through the federal government's regional development agencies. They're governed by local volunteer boards. 269 community futures served over 14 million people last year. The Vibrant Communities is specifically focused on poverty reduction, but the model is a powerful tool with demonstrated success for bringing together diverse stakeholders in a roundtable structure to take joint action on a shared priority. Everything from discounted transit passes for people living in poverty to early childhood education and development supports, shelter for homeless day workers, or transportation solutions between low-income neighborhoods and employment sites. Including the private sector is a key facet of the Vibrant Communities approach. So now we'll shift from the more territorial or CED type models to some social economy or enterprise ones. We have 9,000 co-ops and credit unions, which are active in virtually every sector of the economy. Co-ops are often used and sustained by local people getting together to provide an essential or desired service. They do tend to be more resilient in economic downturns and in impoverished communities. The survival rate is nearly 20% higher after the first year and grows to more than double after 10 years. Social enterprises are businesses run by nonprofit organizations where they're involved in the production of goods and services for the blended purpose of generating income and achieving social, cultural, or environmental objectives. Social enterprises can be found in a wide range of sectors, notably daycare, the nonprofit and co-op housing, renewable energy, healthcare, and social tourism, either to create employment opportunities for a particular population or to provide a desired service to a local community, or sometimes simply to raise money to become a revenue source for a nonprofit. Community loan funds provide access to capital for entrepreneurs who are often turned down by banks. The Alberta Immigrant Access Fund is a microloan program that provides loans for immigrants to seek accreditation and training, recognition of their credentials. An evaluation of the program done by the University of Calgary found a social rate of return of more than 30% per year once immigrants are able to get their accreditation, work in their field of training, and pay back the loans. The final model is training businesses, which combine employment training with the production and sale of goods and services. 47 organizations in last year had $78 million in total revenue, but just under half of that, $35 million, comes from the sale of the goods and services they produce through their training programs. The training business model in Quebec I mentioned recently had an evaluation study done that found that governments recovered 2/3 of their costs in the first year and end up saving all of their money over 29 months, accumulating to up to $60 million over 21 years. Social return on investment measures, evaluation, and impact measurement are a fundamental challenge for us, mostly because no two communities are alike, and in many cases, the assets developed, which are often prerequisites for concrete economic results, are intangible and difficult to value. Social capital and community trust, productive partnerships, leadership, cooperation, human capital. CED and the social economy are innovative solutions to combining economic and social objectives, practices that are already significant here and around the world. But as the walls between business and charity blur, and as innovative community initiatives blend social and economic objectives to tackle difficult social problems that have proven insurmountable for governments or the private sector acting in isolation, community economic development and the social economy offer a wealth of tools for local economic developers to add to your toolboxes. Thank you very much for your attention this morning.